So in the last video, I showed you how to download a DXF file for a very simple sink. Most sinks that you'd find on the internet are not that simple. I'm gonna work with this 6040 sink this time. So on this particular product page, we have a DXF file for flush, overhang, and reveal. I'm gonna download the flush one. It should appear in the downloads folder. And in Cut2D, I'm going to create a new file, and it's important that you do it in inches, and I'll set the size to about 1000 millimeters by 500 millimeters, so it's big enough to cover it. So to import our DXF file that we just downloaded, I'm going to click Import Vectors and get it from our Downloads folder here. Now it's important that you create a new job in millimeters and use the import tool. Don't directly open the DXF file because it won't import properly. We imported the file, but we'll have to zoom out to find it. Okay, there it is. So we're going to remove all of this clutter by selecting it and pressing the delete button on the keyboard to get rid of it. To move the view around, you can zoom with the middle mouse button and click and hold it to drag the view around. So if we click on the sink, we see that it's made out of little line segments. We need to join this together into one solid line. So to join it together, we are going to click on the Join button. It's also called Join Open Vectors. So it shows us that we start out with 12 open vectors, which are just the little line segments. And we need to increase the tolerance to where we could get one closed loop. Okay, if we set the tolerance to 5 millimeters, we should get one closed loop. The reason for the tolerance is because these line segments oftentimes are not touching. This DXF file is just not perfectly well drawn to where there's gaps here, and we need our tolerance high enough to cover the gaps. It's important that you don't make your tolerance too high because it'll create some problems with how it joins it together, which are not good. Okay, so I'm going to join this. I'm going to click on it to check, make sure it's all together. One closed loop, which is exactly what we need. Okay, now we can edit our job size back into inches and the correct size that we need. Okay, that looks good. Make sure this is inches now. And we need to offset our origin down to the bottom. So we're going to take our height divided by 2. We have 9.5. I'm going to offset the y by 9.5. So now our 0 point goes to the middle bottom, which is what we need. Okay, it looks like the sink is positioned correctly. If it's not positioned correctly, there for example, you can use the Move Selected Objects button and set the X position to 0 from the middle and Y position to the number we calculated. Excellent. Now that we have our sink here correctly positioned, all we need to do is select it and create a toolpath for it to send it to the machine. And that's it. I'm also going to show you another DXF file which is sort of messy and show you some techniques on how to clean it up. So this is the new file I just downloaded. It comes in a more detailed DXF file, and this design here is what I need, and the rest I'm gonna have to delete. So to delete all of these line segments, it's gonna take some time. One technique to select lines is to click and drag, which draws a rectangle, so you can delete them. It'll select only the line segments that are fully inside the rectangle, but if you click and drag in the right to left direction, it'll select line segments that are just touching your selection rectangle, which makes it convenient in times like this where it's really difficult to actually select what you want without selecting what you don't want to delete. At this point, what I can do is select everything and click the join tool. And if I set a tight tolerance, it should join together my line that I want without getting any of the other stuff joined into it. I'm gonna move my sync file to the side and delete everything else. I'm gonna zoom in and inspect the line that we joined together and make sure that it's all good. Okay, very good. And I'll adjust the job size settings back to what it should be. I'm going to offset the origin down to 9.5. And I'm going to move this sink to make it centered. Okay, now that we have our sink cleaned up and ready, we can select it and generate a toolpath for it, for the machine. Once you check everything looks good, select the profile and click Save. Save toolpaths.